Hey guys, I'm Alkhyseam Watson and you're watching The Beauty Block.
Hey guys, welcome back to Beauty Block. Today I'm with Al Watson. Al is a renowned hairstylist who's based in Atlanta and a phenomenal wig maker. Al is here today to tell us about his process and how he's gotten to where he is today. Guys, please remember to subscribe and like us on our YouTube channel and Julian's Cosmetics, The Beauty Block. Let's dive right in. Al, welcome to The Beauty Block. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Good. So tell me about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Oceanside, California. For most people, that's San Diego. I moved to North Carolina and went to high school and hair school there. So I got a little bit of everything, and then I moved to Atlanta in '97, so I got a little bit of all three places, but Oceanside is my home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What brought you to Atlanta?
College, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, I went to Morehouse, and I went there after I went to hair school in North Carolina. Then I moved here for college and just never left.
Awesome. What did you study at Morehouse?
I was a marketing major. In business administration, my concentration was marketing. I actually wanted to do what Eddie Murphy did in Boomerang. I went to go into promotion and branding.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, senior year, that changed. Turned down old PricewaterhouseCoopers and was like, no, I don't think that's for me. And yeah.
When did you know that hair was something you really wanted to do?
That's a good question. Because hair is not what I wanted to do at first. I mean, I did it and ended up being very, skilled in it because I'm a visual learner. So I owe that to my uncle that was a hairstylist in North Carolina. It wasn't until my dad suggested to me before I went to college, because I will be the first in my immediate family to go to college. So of course there was a lot of things that I just didn't know. So I'm at home thinking or waiting for my award letter, because I did not want to go all the way to Atlanta and they tell me, oh, I need $500,000 today, and then look like Boo Boo the Fool and have to go home. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that I could have just called the school and asked them. I didn't know that. So I'm sitting there waiting for the mailman to come, and I'm missing some of the pre-freshman program stuff. So my dad was like, well, why don't you go get your hair license first? You're going to Atlanta. You're going to a hair capital. Why not go? You're doing hair anyway. Go to hair school, get your license, and then defer your admission to next year, and then go then, and you have something, money to keep in your pocket and that kind of thing while you're in school. I was like, no, I was ready to go to Atlanta, ready to get away from home. But it was then that I realized, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll do it. I was afraid that hair school was going to change what I thought about hair. From what I just learned from, working with my uncle and other people, got to hair school, and it did change what I thought about hair, because it actually taught me the technicality of it, the actual underlying skill of, the theory of hair and all of that. So of course I was impressed with that. But all it did was give me a platform to just exercise some of the stuff I already knew and to really, build my creativity. So at that point, in between putting college off a year and my dad believing enough in what I was doing, because I'm like, you think most people's story is like, oh, the parents say, you go to high school, you go straight to college and get you a good job and blah, blah, blah. My dad was like, you were doing it here. You were making money. Because my dad was a businessman, you hear me? So it was about getting them coins, taking care of yourself and your family. So he was like, you was already doing it. So why don't you get a legal license, and then you can do it at your leisure. And I said, if you think enough of me to think that, yeah. So that was probably the best set of advice he's ever given me amongst all the others. And I think at that point, I knew that there was something about this beauty industry, because what I thought was going to be my path, I felt like God had something else for him to, come through my dad and was like, you can still go to college, but let's do this first. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to, but let's try it. And so I think at that point I started to realize that maybe there was something for me. Didn't know what. So I went for it.
Good.
Yeah.
So after you completed Morehouse, how did you get back to doing hair?
Well, the funny thing is, I never left. So after I got my hair license, and I went to Dudley Beauty College in North Carolina. I went to the Greensboro location. So before I left, Mr. Dudley himself was like, okay, well, I heard you wanted to go to college, so why don't you stay here, do the instructor's program, teach here, and then go. I said, sure, but not now. I'll do it later. Maybe I'll do that later. So at that point, once I got to Morehouse, of course, we're a private school, so we didn't get visitation and co-ed visitation until after midterms. So, but in the midst of midterms, we're getting ready for homecoming, which is a really big deal for us. So we get most of all of our queens for any clubs, homecoming, or anything straight from Spelman. So, of course, my dorm was considered the leadership dorm. And it just so happened that I ended up being the vice president of our freshman class. So we had to have a court. So of course, my roommate and other people knew I did hair. So they was like, oh, you can do their hair. So I think I was probably the first person that was part of the freshman class that had visitation before we were really able to do it. So at that point, it only took that group of ladies, because I was doing it in our RD's office, so I couldn't take them to the room quite yet. But by me doing those three girls, then homecoming coming, everybody wants to be fabulous. So I had people coming through the office, so they really couldn't use the office. So they was like, okay, you're legit, you got a license. Okay, we'll let you guys use your room. So whenever it was time to shampoo out a relaxer or something, I emptied out the bathroom. I'm like, okay, I'm coming in, everybody out. So, but they were okay, because, I've never had so many of my hallmates come to visit, like, oh, hey, what's going on? You ain't been up here the whole time. Now you see me over here with her. Now you trying to figure out who she is. You're not slick. So I never, once they figured out that I was licensed, it just spread it like wildflower. So at that point, once I did our dorm queens, I was the stylist that took care of Miss Marina White, which is the queen for the school. So every year while I was there, I was the one that was taking care of the court. Mainly the queen. Every person that I worked with that was in the pageant ended up winning. So they thought it was rigged. I was like, no, it's just all about the hair. I mean, I changed them like that. I liked it and it worked, So I never, from the time I settled into my room, and because they saw the things I were bringing in, they were like, what's that? And I had the old school, the little ring that you put all the Marcel irons. Came with my stove, my little, that was part of my room stuff. So, people looking like, now what is that? Now I know I've seen that when my mama go get her hair done. You know what I mean? So they're like, you do hair? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah. And that was my story. So it kind of spread it really fast. So I never separated. So it followed me as soon as I got there. And first salon I managed in my sophomore year. Yeah, and bought my first one before I graduated. So it was just a whole different story that I was not planning. So so that it wasn't a go back to. It was just part of the whole situation. People was like, well, how was you able to do hair, schoolwork, and I used to dance and all that. I was like, how did you do all that? I said, I don't know. I really don't know, and still graduate, cum laude. I don't know how that worked, but, I know it was God helping me out.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So outside of that, I didn't try to figure out a new answer, but so it never left me.
Good. So what was your first major production you worked on, you can recall?
Oh, listen, okay, my first major production was the Monique Show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was only 2 hairstylists, 2 makeup artists that took care of the whole show. We did 2 shows a day. We only worked 3 days a week. So we could see anywhere from 15 to maybe 60 people a show. 2 hairstylists. Outside of the people that took care of Monique herself, they stayed with her. But for my first production, that was a lot. You know what I mean? I've done fashion shows, stuff like that, but as far as like television production, that was our first one. And from there, I met all kind of people. because we had different people every show. So and the thing about working on the Monique show is that a lot of people that will come, the talent that will come, they knew about us because most of the other late night shows were either Caucasian stylists or and everybody that came to the Monique show, she had all ethnicities, but mostly a lot of African American, Spanish, So when they came to us, they were comfortable. We had people canceling the people they booked because usually everybody's like, okay, I'm gonna bring my own people because I don't trust these people over at this show. They ain't gonna know what to do with my hair and I'm gonna come out there looking crazy. But then, and then everybody talks. So they're like, girl, you ain't gotta leave them, girl, say that budget. You ain't gotta, they got a good team, So it worked for us. It was a challenge, but it worked because you never knew what they were gonna come in there looking like. You don't have salon time. You ain't got, 2-3 hours, shampoo, blow dry, no. We might have 30 minutes, if that, to really have them come in looking like a scarecrow. and then make them, move out, go out looking glamorous. So, but yeah, that was my very first, contracted production that I've ever done.
Excellent. So I know you've worked on quite a few different productions. Tell me about some of your top production you worked on.
Okay, some of the top. I would say the one thing, I did the Mickey Howard story for TV One. That was my first movie as a department head. And I got that job through a referral for another one of my colleagues, and we were in Savannah for like 2 months. And, shout out to TV One. And so that was my first feature that was away from home. So where I had to, uproot my living and go somewhere else. But it was in Savannah, but it was great. So it was a good place to go to. I definitely always shout that out. That was great. I did, as my first feature as a key, I did Plus One. It was a sci-fi movie. And that was really cool for me. And this whole movie lasted in one night. So it was a situation of having doubles of every character in the movie. So it was if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it because it's really, it's a story that it's sci-fi, number one. So you already know what you're going to get. And as being an African American stylist on a team of everything else and the only male, it was like, luckily I didn't feel like I needed to prove anything. I do think that, I was referred to that job because of what they felt comfortable of me being capable of doing. So I went in and just made sure that I could just execute whatever the department had needed. So I definitely shot that out because that was something different that I've never done, with working with, putting together a hairpiece that's got a whole blown out side of the head, stuff like that, prosthetics, that kind of thing. So that was exciting. Let's see what else I can say that was another thing. It's been a lot, and then when you ask, it's like, it all runs together. But I would say those two stick out because of the fact that there was two spaces that was new for me and set the standard for everything else I did after it. So I'll definitely give shout outs to those two productions.
Absolutely. So in terms of the hairdressing industry in Atlanta, how do you think it differs now as opposed to when you started doing hair a few years ago?
I like how you said a few years ago. Makes me feel young. The beauty industry has changed a lot, in my opinion. Since when I first started here and where it is now. Professionally, I think that the beauty industry has become, there's a section that now I feel like the beauty industry is getting the recognition that we really deserve as far as recognizing the talent that's here or, just in the beauty industry, number one. But at the same time, we're dealing with a very microwavable environment right now. So you know, where everybody's Instagram famous. And, you know, I come up when we didn't have those kinds of things. We had College Club and Black Planet, you know, barely, you know what I'm saying? So you know, it was that. So it was really your own merit that set the standard of who you were. You know, you didn't just have fabulous pictures that you put on a social media site and then you become famous. No shade to the people that have done that. But I think what it has done is that now that we're being recognized a lot more, I can't confidently say that we're getting the recognition because people understand and realize what we do.
Yeah, true.
You understand what I'm saying? I think it's packaged very nicely and it looks great. And it's like, oh, you can do that with a curling eye? You know, it's that. But it's like people, I don't think they really understand the whole technical thought process of what we have to do to create the beauty industry. You know what I mean? We have so many things that are just showcasing it with the pomp and circumstance, but it's the other things underneath that is the foundation of the beauty industry that I think is missing. Yeah. So it's just only the surface part. Because you know, when I was coming up with it, it was being able to be creative was just a part of it. Yeah. People wanted you to take care of their hair. Like my clientele consists of generations, mothers, grandmothers, daughters, nieces. You understand what I'm saying? So like I was tripping out one day, like one of my clients that I did her 8th grade dance. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Did her 8th grade dance. And she's like now like a 7-year teacher. Oh, wow. And I'm just like, okay, you guys remind me of how long I've been doing this. But once again, you talking about I do her mother. I do like her aunt. You know, so I do with how we were coming up, it was one of those kinds of things that once you realize somebody that was taking care of your hair, it wasn't like, oh, you just go to them because they can do a slam and cut. It was just like, they take care of my hair. They be, oh, your hair's so healthy. So people will walk around the street and it's like, oh my God, your hair's so healthy. Because it wasn't about what we have now with the weaves and all the other things that hide what's going on for real, which is okay. Because, you know, I don't want, if it's underneath, it's not right. You know, I don't want you to just feel like you're stuck with that. So don't get me wrong with that. But, you know, I think that it was a different thing that we were recognized for. I feel like if we had that platform then, it might have been even different than it is now. But I just want to make sure that people understand what it takes to do what we do. We don't just do hair. You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest thing that I feel like has changed. I think we have encouraged more people to be a part of it because once upon a time, it was like, oh, you do hair? You know, it's like, it's just that. Oh, you know, you do hair. Very true. Like, you know what I'm saying? I grew up in that space to where it was like, oh, well, yes, I do. You know, and it was so many other things that came with that. And I'm like, you know, well, don't front on that. Because I do have a college degree as well. But it's not my college degree that's, you know, allowing me to just do what I want, when I want, and how I want. You know, it's my trade that did that for me or helped me to do that, which they're taking out of schools, which I feel some kind of way about as well. You know what I mean? So you're taking that away. So now you're making people feel like, oh, I have to go be a lawyer. No shade to a lawyer, but I have to go do those things. But then you got Bone Chica that doesn't want to go to college. You know, she doesn't have the means to go, but she's braiding everybody's head in the neighborhood, killing it. But she doesn't know because there's nobody as an advocate to say, you know what, let me go get your license and let's make a business out of this. True. I have colleagues that right now that, you know, still looking for a permanent job. You know what I mean? I bought my first salon before I graduated from Morehouse. You know what I mean? So, and there's another part of it that I think has changed, that now that we're getting the recognition, you know, it's the foundation that we neglect, I feel like. Talent, we have talent out the wazoo. You know what I mean? Because you can see it, the visual, the packaging of it all. Absolutely. You know, but it's the underneath that I feel like is missing, and that's my biggest issue with the beauty industry, and that's how it's changed,
Awesome. So I think in terms of stylists, there is a start point for every hairstylist. What do you think is your start point when someone sits in your chair? What's the first thing you do away from shampooing the client's hair?
Okay, well, even before I shampoo them, there's this thing that people don't do now called consultations, and that is the beginning of everything, because a lot of people are in this industry for different reasons, and money being number one, and so by any means necessary. You know what I mean? If I know I can do a $500 hairdo, you can walk out of here and I have that in my pocket. Now, tomorrow, it may be a different story. You may be like, now why the inside is itching? You know, all of this. Why do I feel like my sides are falling out? I got less size than I have. I got a weave to grow my hair, but now I'm still covering up. I got a comb over. Now what's happening? You know, my biggest thing is I want to find out what it is that they want. What are you desiring? Because, you know, when it comes to, you know, a woman's hair, like the cliche of it being their crown of glory, I believe that, you know what I mean? Because, you know, it's one of those kind of things you can just throw on a white beat and some jeans and a cute shoe, and if the hair ain't right, you're gonna be like, ooh. Or if their hair's snatched, you can just put on that paper sack and then feel like you just a queen of the world, you know what I mean? Or you got on full on Versace and you know, and you feel like you doing it, that look didn't complete it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Versace, that's not Versace. She didn't know what to do with that, you know what I mean? So I feel like just knowing the person, that helps me in a lot of different ways, because sometimes you get people that are confident in what you do and they say, well, just do something. And I'm like, I appreciate your confidence in me, but I want to talk to you and see what it is that you do. You know, what type of lifestyle did you have? You know what I mean? Are you somebody that sweat in your sleep? You know what I mean? There's a lot of factors that go in it, because when you leave me and something happens and I'm like, well, you didn't tell me that. That's not really the professional answer. It's like, you know, but we skip that just to get right to it. We got 5 people waiting, so we just want to get you in there. Okay, get my assistant, go shampoo you. You go, you know, and I'm here I go. I'm going to do whatever it is I do, but then you wonder why the color didn't come out right, or you wonder why she calls you tomorrow and her scalp is itching, or, you know, that kind of thing. So my biggest thing is to find out the person, figure out what it is. I have a million styles in my mind. But if talking to you and what you do and that kind of thing, if I don't feel like you can pull it off, at least 999 of them might not work for you. You know what I mean? So that one might be the one to be like, okay, you know what? I feel like she can pull this off. Because I don't want to give you something that you can't, you know, I don't want to give you a plant that you can't water the right way. Because then when it turns brown, you're asking me, now, what happened? Did I use the right water? And I'm like, well, I guess I probably should have talked to you about that first. You know what I mean? So that's the main thing that I want to start with, to see who I'm dealing with, so I'll know my parameters. You know, how far I can go to the left, or okay, she's a little too conservative, so I'm not going to suggest that, you know. And that helps, because at the end of it, if you wait to the end, it's kind of too late. What I think is the key to making a good wig is first understanding who you're doing it for. You know what I mean? You just got to know who you're doing it for, because the construction of a wig is still kind of basic. You know, you have certain types of wigs, a lace front, a full lace, or whatever, you know what I mean? So the functionality of how to make it works. I mean, you know, where you're going to lay it and that kind of thing. But when you start thinking about who you're customizing this for, you know what I mean? Then you're thinking about, then you have to consider size. You got to consider, are they somebody what materials you're using? Because you might be somebody that sweats a whole lot. So one material might not work over the other. So I think the biggest thing is to realizing who you're making it for. Unless you're just making, you know, just a plethora of different kinds, and, you know, people can find out which one works for them from trial and error. But that's the most important part, is just understanding who you're making it for. And then you have a lot of other details to look at, but that's probably the most important thing in the beginning.
Good. What would you say is your signature hairstyle? What do most of your clients come to you for?
I would say my signature hairstyling thing that people know me for is body. I feel like if there's hair below the ears, there should be no reason why it's not moving. You know what I mean? No matter what the style is. And I feel like if a woman, they act different when their hair is moving. It's a different attitude. It's a whole different flow. You know what I mean? They hold their hair different. They write and sign stuff differently. You know, they turn around, you call their name, they turn differently. It just makes them feel, you know, really feminine. So for me, you know, body and hairstyling is like probably the main thing that people will probably connect with me when it comes to styling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And why do people wear more wigs on set now than wearing their natural hair? Why is that recommended?
Well, I recommend that wigs are utilized more on sets and things like that because, for one, it definitely protects the integrity of anybody's hair. That's number one. And with working in set life, you know, you could go across 5 different looks on one actor, you know, in one day. You know, so Lord forbid if you are natural and we got to go from your hair being wet in one scene to me having to blow dry you and then press you back out and recurl you, you're going to be fried, dyed, and laid to the side for real at the end of that whole situation. So for me, it works out in several different ways. One, to protect the integrity of people's hair. That's number one. Number two, it cuts down on your time. You know what I mean? If I can just do a quick little switcheroo, you're never waiting for the hair department to come to camera. You know, and then I can prep. Okay, this scene, this is the hair she's wearing. And this scene, this is where she's wearing. You know, and all may be the same color, but I got them styled different. All I got to do is switch them out. Yeah. Versus me taking that one wig and having to stop and recurl it and do this and do that. And Lord forbid if we go from that scene and have to repeat that or go back to that scene, then I'm like, oh Lord, I got to wet it, straighten it, and go back and curl it again. You know, so with me having the units, it helps to, you know, with timing. And then at the same time, one thing about wigs is that I've learned that they do things that a normal head of hair won't do for me and last and stay. And you know what I mean? Against humidity, you know, granted you have the right quality of hair when you're dealing with these wigs, but those 3 things are the top thing that I think why they should be used. One, to take care of the integrity of the hair, you know, cut down on your timing and give you versatility. You know what I mean? And those are the 3 main reasons, because in that industry, I've seen so many actors, you know, that people see on TV and I say, oh, her hair always the bomb. And in my mind, I'm sitting there like, you have no idea what she goes through. Because if you saw her own hair, you know, you'd be shocked. You know what I mean? And the actors know it. So I try to make sure that, you know, I'm like, look, I know this is what we're going to do. We're going to help this out. We're going to help this situation out. So that's why I think that, you know, wigs have a bigger space in television and stuff now.
Good. So I know you use quite a few gadgets when you're styling the hair. What's your one thing you have to have when you're styling? Tool.
Does it have to be one?
Okay.
Can it be 2? Okay, if it's 2, first of all, you have to have a sickening blow dryer.
Yeah. Okay.
Because even if I can't find a comb or curling iron or anything else, I can still style with my with my blow dryer.
Nice.
Okay? There goes my body too, you know what I mean? And also, if I have a flat iron and a blow dryer, I'm good to go.
Good.
I'm good to go. And it needs to be titanium.
Yes.
My flat iron. You know what I mean? As long as it's titanium, and it can be, I'll give it maybe 1 inch to 1.5 inches. That's all I need. And I can create whatever styling I need, curls, straight, crimps, whatever I need. Good. Those 2, I'll be good to go.
Good. I love that. And what are some products that you must have on set?
Products on set that it's a must-have. A is a leave-in conditioner, because that helps as a foundation to whatever I'm going to do. My favorite one, I've picked up this line called Enjoy. They're not because they're out of San Diego, but they are out of San Diego. and Enjoy, it reminds me a lot of the Moroccan oil line. But I feel some kind of way with Moroccan Oil right now because they changed up some stuff. Then and I've noticed it, but Enjoy popped up at the right time, so I don't know if anybody that's connected to either one of those knew what was going on, and they said, okay, this is our time to launch. But the conditioning spray from Enjoy has been a lifesaver on all textures of hair. You know, whether people wearing their hair just natural in a natural state every day, or if they're using it as, you know, the foundation before blow drying, flat iron, or whatever they're doing. So that's a must-have for me. And outside of that is, you know, I'm not a product whore, but I could deal with a hairspray that I'm able to sculpt, mold, and brush out without tearing the hair up. And Enjoy has that. Yeah. They have that where I can use it to mold it to a ponytail, curl it and set it real well, but I can always end up and take a brush right through it. And it's not like, you know, it doesn't fry it all the way, but I'm able to comb right through it. If I got those two, I can live by that, you know.
Good. Awesome. So tell me, what is a last look?
Well, in TV world, last look is really what that is. The last look. The last look right before action is called. That's when, you know, hair and makeup and wardrobe, we go to our actors, make sure that everything is back where it needs to be, make sure that, you know, the makeup is right, make sure the hair is combed the right way, no flyaways, the clothes are right, and that's what last look means. That's like, and a lot of times you have different sets that might call it something else, but last look reigns supreme. But that's exactly what it is. It's your last time to look at your actor to make sure that they're camera ready.
Are there any hairstyles or hair trends that you've seen that you're like, okay, I love, or you don't love, that's emerging?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna have to be very clear on this so that it's not misconstrued what I'm saying. I don't have a problem with lace fronts. What I have a problem with is this sickening baby hair. Okay? And what I want to tell the world is there's nothing wrong with the lace front. Lace fronts has been around for a long time. And they have resurfaced. And I appreciate all of my fellow colleagues that are doing classes to show the proper way of doing lace fronts. And what people don't know, lace fronts was not created to wear every day, just so we know that. It was made for, it really kind of came out of theater to where, you know, and they have this thing called theater lace. It's very fine, it's very fragile, and it just melts on you once it's put on correctly. And that's where a lot of it was used for. It wasn't to wear every day. It just wasn't. But, you know, of course, we've developed ways to give that look to the masses. But I think it's great because it's really close to making it look as natural as possible. But what gives it away is that massive baby hair that you go, and I understand why you're doing it, you know, but it's almost like, tone that down, because even people with real hair that's a bang. That's not baby hair. That is a full-on bang that you're using to cover your lace. Let's do better with dyeing the lace and tinting that so that you don't have to do that. But because I feel like with a lace front, you know, it may be nicely styled, but it's like, yo, baby hair, girl, give it away. You know, I know it may not be your hair, but I'm like, I'm just drawn to your baby hair while you talking to me. So, you know, I appreciate giving options. I'm all about options. You know, but just be real mindful of how we do it. You know what I mean? And, you know, the toothbrush thing, that's been around forever. You know, shout out to Chili. You know, she's the baby hair queen. As you can see, her baby hair is not a bang. So that's a trend that I see that is really popping, and it's working, and it looks great on pictures. But be very mindful of what that looks like in person. Just, you know, I know everybody wants that, but just be real careful.
And you see it everywhere today.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's crazy. Yeah, but
So, Al, tell me, what does the next 5 years looks like for you?
someone else asked me that question. The next 5 years for me, I am very grateful that I was able to trademark my wig line in 2015.
Congrats.
And thank you. And in the next 5 years, I really want to really develop that even more and take it to another level. Even if it's on the first level. Because I'm like, well, God, you gonna release it as much where it needs to be. I began the whole wig situation back in 2012, and after creating that whole flow, I said, you know what? If I'm gonna be serious about it, I want to be serious all the way.
Yeah.
So I want to be able. So I went and trademarked the line. It's called Prince Kasim's Glamour Crowns. I don't call them wigs, so it's a little uncomfortable for me to say wigs because I feel like the word wigs scare people. You know what I mean? When you think of wigs, people automatically think of your grandmother or it coming off. A whole lot of just negative things when it comes to the whole word wigs. So I chose to call them crowns and get that trademark because I felt like that sparked a conversation about my product. And then at that point, I'm able to present the product that would help support any interest in it, and you'd be like, oh, okay, and it works out. Wigs have been made for ages, you know what I mean? But the way the whole process, it's an experience when it comes to getting a glamour crown. For me, it's an experience with me and the client, and to ensure that they could feel okay to know that we can create any look that we feel that works for you. You know what I mean? There's no limit to it. A lot of people don't do things because they feel like, well, I don't think I'm gonna look good in blonde. You might. It's just all about how it's color blocked. You know what I mean? They say, well, I don't know. I don't like long hair. They say, when I get old, I'm supposed to cut it short. You make the rules, not everybody else. Let's try it. You don't like it? We'll cut it. We'll cut your crown short if you want. People always, want it color for whatever reason, health reasons. Can't do color to their own hair. Just because you get a wig doesn't mean you have to get it 22 inches. If you wanted to match your own hair, let's do it and throw some color in there so that you can kind of get yourself used to, seeing you with color. Or if you wanted bangs, you'll never cut your hair in bangs, but if you have a crown, you can cut your bang and see how it look. You never know. You still got your own bang, and if you decide you want to do what you do to your crown to your real hair, have an idea of what it's going to be, or keep the integrity of your hair like it is. So you can wear that whenever you want and just keep buying your crowns. That's got all the different looks that you want. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Beauty Blog. It's a pleasure talking with you and learning about all your tricks and where you're from.
Yeah. Right. So I'm here, but thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to share my story with you guys. So.
Awesome.